Welcome back to Why We Nurse. I'm your host, Serena Tobar, and today we're diving into a story that is unique, powerful, and honestly, a whole vibe. My guest today is Tim, a corrections nurse whose day to day practice takes place behind secure doors. And he's a creative educator who makes medical related songs that help nursing students study and remember key concepts. We'll explore what it's like to nurse inside correctional healthcare, how music became part of their teaching method, and the amazing impact of his creativity is having on the next generation of nurses. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So, before we get into everything you do, tell us a little about your journey. What led you to nursing, and how did you find your way into corrections?
Okay, I'm from a small town, and not really a small town, but I'm from a city called Port Arthur, Texas. Nicknamed the Golden Triangle, three cities, Beaumont and Orange. All my life, I had just different struggles coming up. I had barriers probably that the average kid didn't have. When I graduated high school, I had to find a career, and there was a prison being built right up the road in a neighboring city. And after graduating high school, I applied for that job and I ended up getting that job as a corrections officer. Back then, we called ourselves prison guards. But I got the job as a correction officer. And my journey pretty much took place then, or started then. I learned a lot in correctional institutions. I worked at pretty much, it was a maximum security prison. Today is probably considered one of the most dangerous prisons. I'm kind of glad I made it out of there. But that's pretty much where my life journey began.
Okay. So, did you always imagine that you would take care of patients in corrections, or did you just kind of fall there because that's your background?
Yeah, working in prison, I thought it was neat. Um, Obviously, had never been in a prison before, but I saw it's like a city within a city, and in that city per se, there was a little miniature hospital, there was a miniature clinic, there were people wearing scrubs, nurses assistants. There was doctors, there was dentists, there was some people working mental health, all inside that prison. And I thought that was very interesting or intriguing. But I never, at that point, I never saw myself being with them. It was always just being a guard, but that stuck on the back of my mind like, wow, I'm inside of a maximum security prison working, and there's literally a hospital inside of this place.
That's really interesting. I've never been inside a correctional facility, so that's something that I can't relate to. I know I have taken care of prisoners in an acute care hospital, but it's definitely not the same. So, with
Right.
that being said, besides myself, I know that a lot of people don't even know what corrections nursing looks like. So, can you tell us a little bit about a typical day for you?
Um, my typical day is just answering requests. According to our Constitution, prisoners have rights. One of their rights being access to medical care. At every single point of the day, if somebody requests for medical assistance, it's our duty, and plus we took the oath to take care of them and tend to their needs. A typical day for me is to go through and look at all of the medical requests, and then I go ahead and see the ones that I can see, the inmates who I can take care of. I have a fever, I have a cold, I have been having constipation, no pun intended. But it's my job to make sure that they get a level of care. If it's something just out of my range, then I'll make them an appointment to see our prison doctor or jail doctor. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I average charting on about 70 or 80, but I actually physically see about maybe 40 or 50 a day. I know those numbers seem high, and it seems like not a lot, but it's really not.
What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about corrections nursing?
About the corrections nurses is that we probably don't know as much as hospital nurses. And consider that to be the exact opposite because there's a heightened level of autonomy that goes on inside a correctional facility. And we have to be on our P's and Q's. I have to critically think. I have to make the first and sometimes even the last decision. So whereas in a hospital, you have RT, you have PT, you have X-ray, you have all of those resources. Where in prison, it's just me. And I have to be all of those. I have to give breathing treatments. I am the wound care nurse. I am, in some cases, I was the dialysis nurse. I'm passing medications. I'm doing head to toe assessments. I'm doing physicals. So the biggest misconception is that maybe we don't possess the skills, but actually, we not only possess the same skills, but we actually tap into our skills a lot more than what people know.
How do you balance safety, compassion, and professionalism in that high security setting?
It has to be within you. As a corrections nurse, you have to come in the door right off the back wanting to display the utmost professional character. You want to always have your good character on display because now inmates, they're not in prison for singing too loud in a church choir. But that's not to say that they're not changed. And in some cases, that's not to say that they're really guilty of the crime that they've been accused of. With that being said, I look at them as another human being that needs care. I'll give you a story. I worked on death row in Texas. This was in 2020, right before COVID hit. And I'm walking the runs, just doing a little check, making sure everybody okay. And this one guy said, "Hey, nurse, I've been having this headache. Like, I can't explain it. It's just been giving me the blues." And I said, "Well, right there at the cell, I say, are you taking any medications?" He's like, "No, I'm not on any medication." I say, "How long has this been going on for?" He said, "Oh, it started about 3 days ago." And I said, "Oh, man." So I went back to my little office and I told the guards to bring him on down. We brought him down. I'm looking in his chart, and the first thing stood out to me is his blood pressure was elevated. And I said, "Oh, do you have a history of high blood pressure? Anybody in your family?" So he was like, "Well, yeah, my mom, my dad, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Oh, okay. Have you ever been on high blood pressure medications?" He was like, "No." I said, "Well, I'm gonna get you some medication that'll bring that blood pressure down now. And then I'm going to suggest to the provider that we check your blood pressure twice a day for the next several days so we can see the pattern. And if need be, we'll get you started on some therapeutic blood pressure medication." And he was real appreciative. He ended up feeling better that day and I went on about my merry way. Well, about a week and a half later, he stopped me again. I happened to be on his cell block. He said, "Nurse, thank you so much. Oh my God, that you don't know what you did for me. I appreciate you. I feel better. I could think, you know." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just doing my job." And I went on about my day. But something in me, the curiosity came, over me. And I said, "I wonder what this guy's in prison for." So, every this was Texas. Everything in Texas is public information. So I, went on my computer and I looked up on the website, and this guy had killed 5 people. And right there, I was at a fork in the road. I was like, this guy took the lives of 5 individuals, and here it is. I made his life a little bit better. And that bothered me for about 3 or 4 days because I'm fighting with, look at what he did versus what is the oath that I took as a nurse. And I'm battling with it and battling with it. And then my character, won, it rose. And I said, well, I'm not here to judge him. I don't know the details in his case. I'm here to do what I told my employers I would do, and I'm here to do what I told the nursing board that I would do. And so that's what helps me to continue my day every day, and of course, staying safe. I think I have a little bit more of an advantage over my cohorts because I myself, a former prison guard. Whereas to some people become prison nurses and they never step foot inside an institution. So I automatically kind of know how to stay safe at all times.
Yeah, I'm also in Texas, so I know when we've had prisoners in our hospital that
Hmm.
one of our PAs was like, "Well, you can look up what they did," and that was just kind of something I told myself is I was never look up what they were in prison
Yeah.
for. Mostly because I didn't want, we all have those implicit biases, and I just didn't
Yeah.
want that to bias my care. And I thought, as long as I don't know, then
Yeah.
this is just another person. but as you said, this man killed 5 people, I just made his life a little better. But even when I used to do home health, I would see these patients, and I had this older gentleman, and he just was like the sweetest older guy. And I'm just like, "Oh, he's just a cute little paw," and, whatever. And then come to find out that his daughter-in-law finally told me, she's like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't take care of him anymore. He molested my children when he was younger." And so even in the outside world, you might meet people that are
Yeah,
not the greatest people. And so, I think it's just important, just like you said, to remember our oath, to remember the promise that we made, that we promise to take care of everybody equally, regardless of anything that's going on, and that's what keeps us showing up every day.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I no longer look into their backgrounds, personal backgrounds, because I just don't want it to cloud my judgment and my overall view of the mission that I have when dealing with them.
Yeah. So let's switch it up and let's talk a little bit about your music now. So you
Oh,
create
music.
some medical themed songs, and these are to
Yeah.
help students, nursing students study. That is so incredible. How did you start that?
It all started about maybe 10, 14 years ago when I first became a nurse. I was an LVN first. And when I tell you I questioned my decision to join nursing school right off the bat, because that information comes so fast and you have to retain it. And I always said, I've been singing an ABC song all my life. I can quote you some Michael Jackson songs verbatim because music is what we know and what we can remember no matter what. So I'm like, if this medical jargon, if everything I had to learn about anatomy and physiology and diabetes and just pathophysiology, everything that I had to learn, if it was in music form, man, I would skate through this program. And I have a background and a history of being connected to a lot of entertainers or rappers that's in the industry. I never forget, I went to every single one of them that I crossed paths with, and I'm like, hey, man, I got this idea. Hip hop and rap and music has infiltrated every entity in our society except medical. And, they look at me and they're like, you're right about that. I say, here's the deal. We can be successful with this. I will tell you everything that you need to know. You take the information and you put it into a song and produce it, and let's see where it goes. I think I asked about maybe 7 or 8 rappers, and every single one of them came back and said, "I can't do this. This is not easy. I can't make it sound right." So I'm like, I myself tried to write a couple of songs and it just that's not what I do. So it didn't work out. So moving forward, after my LVN program, years later, I decided to go back for RN. And then that music idea popped up again. And I'm like, man, I have to make this happen. I ended up taking a couple courses online, really studying music and iambic pentameter, association, and just learning how can I take this information and put it into a song and then just put a nice beat over it that everybody can shake their hips to because you'll want to listen to it over and over again. And I came up with that concept and my first song ended up, I thought it was good, but I wanted other people to tell me if it was good or not. And some of my coworkers were amazed. A lot of my coworkers are actually now saying, whoa, I want my kids to listen to this because this is something that they can take into their future. This is something that can benefit them greatly. And I say, oh, okay, I appreciate it. And then I came up with the idea, you know what? Let me make this available to the masses. And so I got with a website and a distributor, and so I send my songs that's created and copywritten to them and they distribute it. And last Wednesday, 2 of my albums ended up on streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, all that good stuff. But I'm excited because this week I have 2 more albums coming out. And the one called titled Lab Values, I teach everything about sodium, potassium, your ALT, your AST, your BUN, everything. I put it in each song with the values and what exactly it do with some nice beats. So I'm super fired up and excited for people to hear that. And I think it's gonna help a lot of people.
So do you remember the very first song that you wrote?
The very first song that I wrote, it was dealing with hypertension, high blood pressure. I forgot how I came out. I was like, hypertension, get it down, that's the mission. And it didn't sound right at all because I would put stage one, stage two, and stage three, and then I would name the beta blockers, the ACE inhibitors, and everything associated with it, but it just wasn't coming out right at the beginning. But now, present day, I think it's pretty perfect now. It's perfect. Maybe afterwards, you can go right to Spotify and type in Nurse Tim Hampton, and you'll see all the albums, and then you can check them out.
Definitely gonna check those out. So besides labs, what other, topics do you cover?
Oh, diabetes type 1 and type 2, atherosclerosis, Graves' disease, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis. I have one whole album dedicated to the urinary system, the cardiovascular system, the reproductive system. I have a song about the stages of pregnancy. Um, lots of stuff.
Okay. I like that. So, no favorite lyric or song that you wanna share right now?
My favorite song is Magnesium. I would love to you guys to hear that real quick.
It's that land value lesson. Nurse Tim Hampton teaching. Pay attention. Magnesium. Magnesium. It's that loud value lesson. Magnesium. Magnesium. No, Nurse Tim Hampton teaching, pay attention. Magnesium 1.7 to 2.2. That's the normal range. Better lock that in your view. 300 reactions. ATP spark. Without that MG cell sitting in the dark. Muscle contract. Head calcium flex. But magnesium relax. That's what comes.
All right. So, you're blending nursing, correctional care, and creative teaching, 3 worlds that don't often meet. How does it feel to be able to impact your patients and also the next generation of nurses?
It feels really good. I feel like I can impact my patients, but of course, obviously during patient teaching sessions, I'm not gonna sit there and rap. Of course, my patients will probably love it if I did that, but I can't do that. But with even the things that I research and then create into a song, it teaches me, therefore I can teach my patients on a professional level while I'm providing a service. As far as the next generation, let's just face it, the next generation, everything is motivated and driven by music and entertainment. So with what I'm bringing to society, I feel like it'll definitely be a benefit to the next generation because they would absolutely jump on board with it.
I agree. As somebody who is an educator, keeping people engaged is one of the toughest parts of education. I'm a professional development specialist in a hospital, but then I also am an educator for a BSN program, and it's really difficult. So this is definitely something that can help. Even educators can bring this in and maybe get a little more engagement and entertainment value into their lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of have this idea. I remember just sitting in class, waiting on the professor to come in and teach us our lesson for the day. And but I just got this visual that someday the professor's gonna walk into my songs, and get the students really engaged and pumped up and hyped up and then start their lesson. But, I don't know why I have that thought, but I think it'll probably happen somewhere. I'm not sure where, but I think it'll happen.
Think so too. I think so. So, what advice do you have for nurses who want to bring more creativity or personality into their practice?
The advice that I have is don't hide your craft. You know, your gift is a blessing from God. You know, your talent is a blessing from God. And what you do with that, you are showing thanks and appreciation. So for me to be able to do the things that I'm doing, I'm certainly not doing it for monetary gain. I'm not doing it for self promotion or anything like that. I know when I leave this earth that that music and that creativity is going to still be here. And I feel like it's going to be helping some people. Um, it kind of can decrease the anxiety, help you get more familiar with what you have to learn. And that's my whole motivation, just to give back, just to give back to society in a positive way.
So, Tim, do you see this becoming something bigger, like full day workshops or some study guides or more albums? What do you see?
More albums. I have a personal goal to create 100 songs by this summer. So more songs, definitely. A study guide. I consider it being your study partner. You know, we have study groups and everything. Well, with my music, I want you to, when you're working out, when you're driving, when you go to the dog park, you listen to my music, and you have a study. I'm your study partner. And that's absolutely where I can see it going into the future. I'm not opposed to other people doing stuff like this. And I'm the type of person, if you're excited about it and you want me to help you create it, because you may be studying a subject that I just don't have. Well, I can show you and help you. And so I feel like this can really take off, in a big way, because it's just, matter of fact, one of my coworkers heard one of my songs and she was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's a song." She was like, "No, what is this?" Like, I've never heard you colliding the medical world with the music world. This is very, and she was lost for words. And that right there kind of let me know that I'm on the right path.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Your story is a reminder that nursing is multifaceted. You're caring for an underserved population, you're teaching through creativity, and you're inspiring future nurses to learn in new and memorable ways. To everyone listening, remember that nursing takes many shapes. Your path doesn't have to look like anyone else's. You can blend your talents, passions, and purpose to create something truly your own. Follow at Why We Nurse on Instagram and Facebook for behind the scenes content and updates. Got a story to share? I want to be a guest? Email me at whywenursepodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, stay strong, stay compassionate, and remember why you nurse.